What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check updates, what's going on in the United States as well as Washington, D.C., and the next two packages, the physical infrastructure package, which is part one, and the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, which is part two of President Biden's Build Back Better plan. Multiple different things to cover here today. If you're new to the channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new updates. Remember these times, new videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, don't forget to hit the like button for us, and let's jump right in. Wow, President Biden is going to be pressing the other G7 leaders, the other major countries that are in the G7, to adopt a unified approach against China to counter their rising influence. Yeah. He says that they're going to take concrete steps to counter China's rising global influence, and that one of these steps will be a multi-billion-dollar plan aimed to create what one White House official described as higher quality alternative to China's Belts and Road Infrastructure project. President Biden is also going to attempt something much more difficult: to convince all 7 member nations to publicly confront China over its forced labor practices. Yeah. This comes as the Senate just passed a massive bill that had actually been in the works for months in the Senate, $250 billion, called the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, which will bring millions of jobs potentially back here to the United States and create chips, security manufacturing, robotics, and all sorts of other tech type of things that are right now introduced or manufactured in China, and we will be potentially bringing those jobs back home. If you've heard of the lumber shortage or even the housing shortage or the car shortage that's going on right now, there's also a major chip shortage right now that's actually causing things like the car shortage, computer shortages, electronic shortages, and anything that has a computer chip in it. There's a worldwide chip shortage right now. And the problem is the majority of those chips come from like Taiwan and China and Far East countries, and they want to bring that back home to the US, because if we ever get into a conflict with any of those countries, they could shut us off, and our country could be crippled temporarily with new production of electronics because we make very little chips. Computer chips, and computer chips literally run the world today. You can't produce a new car without many computer chips. So literally the entire automotive industry, among other things like airlines and airplanes, would cease production, at least temporarily, and they're trying to fix this problem ahead of time. President Biden has also announced he's going to hold a solo press conference after he meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin on, let me see here, I think it's June 16th. They will meet in an 18th century Swiss villa overlooking Lake Geneva. Now, Vladimir Putin and President Biden are two kind of strong-willed people, and the U.S. and President Biden has already put sanctions on Russia from election interference that President Biden says are concrete. We actually have sanctions right now on Russia entirely, and President Biden is going to be talking with him over the Russian hacks that are coming from, they think, rogue Russian hacker groups that have hacked the gas pipelines, the JBS meat production companies, the ferry in Cape Cod, and multiple different companies across the United States. And those are coming from rogue groups, rogue hacker groups out of Russia, not necessarily the Russian government themselves. But President Biden is going to be talking with Putin about this and will be giving us a briefing after they meet on this, if there's anything that's going to be done about these groups. In the Senate, there's actually a bipartisan Senate bill that has been introduced to protect small businesses from cyber attacks. In addition to this, there's another bill that's been introduced that would, if passed, force companies and corporations that they would not be able to pay any ransoms for cyber attacks or ransomware attacks or hacker attacks or anything similar to that. They would literally not be able to pay any ransoms. The U.S. government has always, for many years, always had the policy not to pay hackers and not to pay ransoms. And unfortunately, we have seen that happen both with the gas pipeline hack. They paid almost $5 million in cryptocurrency, which the FBI actually announced about a day or two ago. They recovered the majority of that uh, Bitcoin, and they won't tell us how they did it. It actually sent Bitcoin crashing because a lot of people are concerned that the US government would have access to people's accounts because they don't know how they actually got the money out of the hacker's account. But nonetheless, they did. And then we also seen JBS, the meat production company, pay up to $11 million in Bitcoin as well. And that hack came just like a week or two after the gas pipeline hack. So the real question is, are we going to continue to see this happen week after week after week? And are these hackers going to continue to get paid week after week after week? It's kind of like if they're getting paid millions of dollars, they're going to keep doing it unless they're prosecuted. The problem with that is that they're in Russia. They're not in the United States, so we can't exactly go and just put them in jail because they're not even in our country. And that's going to come down to this meeting here between Putin and President Biden. So I will keep you up to date on this. It's a large concern for our country as meat prices are skyrocketing, as the company is still trying to get back to full production. We know what happened with the gas pipelines. We had the whole southeast corner of the United States shut down for days as they literally ran out of gas. In thousands of gas stations because the gas pipeline was hacked. And the real question is, will this continue and what will be next? The IRS says that tax refunds and stimulus checks are actually delayed or have been delayed because of identity fraud. Yeah, so this could be the reason why you're still waiting on a third stimulus check, an IRS tax refund, or the unemployment tax refund for the $10,200 unemployment tax credit, which makes $10,200 of unemployment income tax free. As you can see here, the IRS flagged 5.2 million tax refunds last year for fraud, a nearly 50% increase over 2019, according to the Taxpayer Advocate Service. Of those, about 1.9 million were tagged for identity screening. In 2019, 63% of refunds vetted for identity theft turned out to be legitimate, according to the organization. About 18% of flagged refunds took longer than 120 days to arrive, or 4 months. The IRS protected $2.5 billion in losses due to identity theft filters in 2019. Here's the perfect example. Jeff Levine plans to use a tax refund this year for long delayed medical help. Yet his refund, almost $2,700, has been in limbo since mid-March when he filed his tax returns, records show. The IRS flagged the return for potential identity theft as it did for nearly 2 million Americans last year alone. The money has been withheld until Levine can verify his identity. The process, although has proven difficult, phone lines are clogged and online authentication is unavailable. Levine, 42, with chronic back pain that makes work difficult over sustained periods, doesn't have a full-time job or health insurance. An extra $2,700, which includes his pandemic stimulus funds, would help pay for monthly premiums and let him visit a specialist. Now, in addition to these over 5 million tax refunds and tax returns or even stimulus checks that have been delayed because of potential fraud, there's also an additional over 10 million tax returns that have been delayed for manual processing. For whatever reason, if the computer system decides they need to manually process your tax return or tax refund or anything along those lines, they will have to pull it. It won't be processed automatically, and it has to be manually processed. And that process seems to take like 2 to 3 to 4 months. Yeah. So, yeah, many delays. Now, former President Trump actually cut the IRS service in a kind of a, we hate the IRS. We don't want them to keep taxing people. But it's weird because it's like the taxes actually pay for our infrastructure, our police, our fire, our schools, stimulus packages, all that stuff, right? You need money coming in to pay for this stuff. Although the government does run a deficit every year, which means they actually spend more than they take in. President Biden wants to increase IRS enforcement by 87,000 more IRS agents, which will help things like tax returns, tax refunds, stimulus checks, as well as these child tax credit, the monthly stimulus checks that are going to start on July 15th of $250 to $300 per month per child that are already passed and are going to start going out here in about a month. It'll help all those processes go faster, but they also want to increase enforcement so that they can basically get more tax dollars out of people. The IRS says that they're owed about $1 trillion in tax money every single year that they're owed, but they don't collect because they don't have enough people to enforce it or collect it, and they possibly don't have all the information to know if somebody, for example, bought Bitcoin for $1,000, sold it for 5,000. They actually owe the government $4,000 of income tax there, or you would pay taxes on $4,000 there. Well, one of the controversial bills among this kind of IRS tax reform here is that they want access to everybody's bank account across the board. All Americans, they would just download all bank account transactions in batches from the banks themselves. So literally for every American, and a lot of people are against that because they say the government should not have that type of personal information. It should not be that intertwined with your finances. So that's kind of a controversial part of what the IRS and Biden is trying to do. Again, I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat. I'll just pretty much tell you the truth of what's going on, nonpartisan. So, yeah, I mean, President Trump cut the IRS staff and cut their budget. President Biden wants to increase it, but he also wants to, I shouldn't say that Biden wants to, but one of the proposals is that the IRS would be given access to everybody's bank account information, basically a batch download of it. So they would know every transaction that's going on for every person in America so that they can collect taxes if they're owed. So a lot of people, they might buy and sell something, make a profit, but not sell, not pay taxes on it. And that would be part of the government's, hey, you owe us taxes on this, but we really don't know about it because we didn't have access to your bank account. So that's a very, very controversial issue right there. I personally don't agree with it. I don't think that the IRS and the government should be in everybody's bank account for everybody's transaction across hundreds of millions of Americans. But you could let me know your thoughts if you think differently. Senator Bernie Sanders says we must take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry and allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices and save taxpayers some $600 billion that would be per year. We can then use those savings to expand Medicare, cover dental, vision, and hearing aids, and lower the eligibility age to age 60 simply by forcing large pharmaceutical companies to give us and the US government prescription drug prices for the same prices that they give it to other countries for. So Bernie Sanders says right here that would save taxpayers $600 billion every single year that could be used for things like expanding Medicare, covering dental, vision, hearing aids, and lowering the eligibility age to age 60. These are also some of the kind of creative ways that the government is trying to save billions or even trillions of dollars or just collect the money that they're owed and use it to pay for stimulus packages, the next stimulus check, Medicare expansion, Social Security raises. There's actually some creative ways they can do like this and the IRS tax reform, just collecting the money that's owed to them, albeit there's some controversial issues in there. Remember, they don't necessarily, with that IRS reform, they don't necessarily have to pass that one provision of that package. They could pass it without that controversial provision. They could just hire more agents and just go about their normal collecting and speeding up the process of sending out this money and enforcement a little bit more. But the IRS is owed what they say is $1 trillion per year. And this Medicare savings or this prescription drug savings could be $600 billion per year. That's $1.6 trillion per year that they can use on stimulus checks, stimulus packages, Medicare expansion, Social Security raises without even raising a dollar. $1.6 trillion every single year they could pass a package and it would be paid for with these two simple changes. In addition to that, there's $2 trillion of stimulus package and stimulus, I shouldn't say stimulus check money, stimulus money from previous stimulus packages that was for all these other type of provisions that we talk about on this channel. There's $2 trillion of that money that's still available. Now, Democrats want to use that for the fourth stimulus check and multiple recurring stimulus checks. And Republicans want to use that for part of or paying for part of the next infrastructure package. The current bipartisan proposal that a deal has been made between a small group of senators, 10 senators, including Senator Joe Manchin, includes a $1.2 trillion infrastructure package, but 600 billion of that is taking $600 billion from that $2 trillion of stimulus money that is sitting there available to use it for the infrastructure package. Democrats want to use it for the next stimulus check. President Biden, while he's on his G7 meeting, led the charge and call for more economic stimulus passed not only in the United States, but around the world, and got all of the G7 leaders to also agree that more stimulus packages, more stimulus checks need to continue to be spent until the end of the year at the minimum. And we've seen a growing support from both President Biden, the White House, and White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki over the last several days, more support than we've ever seen from the president. We've seen a lot of support from Congress, but now we're seeing support that President Biden is actually open to another stimulus check, a fourth stimulus check. Senator Bernie Sanders and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are two of the co-signers to actually a monthly recurring stimulus check that should be included in either the next infrastructure package or the next stimulus package. There's two different bills, a bill from the Senate that is for $2,000 monthly stimulus checks that would go until the pandemic is declared over, or a bill from the U.S. House of Representatives led by Democratic Representative Jayapal and Tlaib. Jayapal is actually the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, which is about half of all the Democrats in the House of Representatives. So if she puts her foot down, her whole caucus will basically say they must have this in the next package and they could negotiate this in. Her bill is for a $2,000 one-time stimulus check, then followed by $1,000 monthly recurring payments that would go until 1 year after the pandemic is declared over. Because even once the virus is gone, the economic recovery is likely going to take 2 or 3 or 4 years. So I will keep you up to date with everything. Make sure to subscribe down below. You can also share. There's a share button down below. Also, you can share this video with your friends and family. After subscribing, it's completely free to do so. Click the bell icon to all notifications to get reminder notifications when we go live with new videos, which is every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm also going to have a big video coming out on the state, county, and other stimulus checks and stimulus programs that could put money in your pocket coming from states, cities, and counties. And I have a big Social Security update, Social Security increase video talking about that, retirement plans, and Social Security increases. So I'll have those videos coming out either today or tomorrow, so don't miss out on any episodes. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is about how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I've had dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon FBA, and I teach them how to do that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.